My personal ideology of education. I believe that the aim of education should be to prepare pupils for later life, highlight their strengths and weaknesses, as well as help develop communication and social skills. Therefore, in my personal ideology, I think education should be child-centred and adaptable to meet each child's personal needs, abilities and interests in order to ensure children get the most out of their education, socially, emotionally and academically. An educational ideology can be defined as any package of educational ideas held by a group of people about formal arrangements of education, and the key principles of an educational ideology are outlined by Bartlett and Burton as either the focus on the individual, knowledge, or society. I believe my ideology of education incorporates a balance of a focus on the individual and society. This is because ideologies concerning the individual value the child and their needs, with the view that education should help to transform society, not just reproduce it. And ideologies based on society also support the process of education being focused on the individual needs and skills of the learner, and give education a practical purpose in order to produce workers that contribute to society. This is supported by DeFore 2011, who stated that rather than teaching children what to think, education should primarily be concerned with teaching children how to think. Bartlett and Burton, 2016, further expand on the interlinked levels incorporated within an educational ideology. These include the purpose of education, the organisation of education, and the delivery of the curriculum. There are many aspects of my personal ideology that I believe have an important impact on education, including collaborative learning, the importance of play, an engaging classroom environment, intrinsic motivation, and more. But in terms of the interlinked levels described by Bartlett and Burton 2016, my personal ideology can be split into 4 key areas, which include the significance of child-centred learning, more creativity in schools, the role of the teacher, and less focus on summative assessment. Child-centred learning. In terms of the organisation of education, I believe that schooling should be more comprehensive in order to allow more diverse learning techniques and in a more diverse learning environment. Child-centred learning is a key part of my ideology, and this is supported by multiple theorists who emphasise the importance of education as a way of supporting the development of the whole child. Guy Claxton is a key theorist that has influenced my ideology of education, as his theory on building learning power encourages children to be more aware of the process of learning and to be more independent in their own learning. Other theorists, including John Dewey, Maria Montessori, Ken Robinson and Rudolf Steiner, all advocate a child-centred approach to learning and teaching, and are some of the theorists that have had an influence on my developing personal ideology. Maria Montessori in particular influenced my ideology, as her approach to education emphasises a child-centred philosophy in that the needs of the child are the starting point. This approach links strongly with the key principles outlined by Guy Claxton, as both approaches to learning recognises each child as unique, and also supports children having independence in their own learning and developing intrinsic motivation to learn. More creativity in classrooms. In my personal ideology of education, and in terms of the delivery of the curriculum, I believe that there needs to be more creativity within schools. This is supported by Sir Ken Robinson, who focuses on individuality, creativity, and diversity, and supports the view that creative teaching facilitates children's learning. His key ideas build on social constructivist approaches and include that education should be personalised to every child and their learning styles and talents. This correlates to my personal beliefs, as I feel that children can engage most effectively when in an environment that engages them, supported by enthusiastic teachers, in a way that is suited to them. In order to do this, Robinson expresses that it is essential that creativity is embedded within education, and I believe the curriculum should be more adaptable to different students' needs to ensure effective and fun learning. This is further supported through Ken Robinson's view that the national curriculum may be restricting a teacher's ability to teach creatively, which in turn leads to a less enabling learning environment and less effective teaching. A quote which I believe supports my ideology in terms of creativity in classrooms is by Sir Ken Robinson in his TED Talk called "Schools Are Killing Creativity," and he stated that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it, or rather, we get educated out of it. Furthermore, I believe that the role of the teacher is a key aspect in terms of my personal ideology of education. This is because teachers have such a huge influence on a child's learning. Teachers therefore have the opportunity of shaping a child's future through education. This is a big responsibility for teachers, which is why I think it's important to discuss the positive impacts teachers can make on a child's education. A theorist who supports this view is John Dewey, who advocates a child-centred approach to education. From this, he stated that the teacher's role is to create opportunities for active experiences in the form of activities and resources which allow pupils to construct connections between experiences, so that the teachers become the facilitators to a child's learning, in order for the children to thrive and develop skills that are transferable. In addition to this, as emphasised by Pritchard 2018, schools exist to promote learning, and subsequently teachers are catalysts for learning. Thus, an up-to-date pedagogical knowledge or awareness is also crucial in order for teachers to have a detailed understanding of ways of learning. Maria Montessori, who, through her approach, which supports the child being at the centre of learning, also believed the role of the teacher is significant, as the Montessori approach requires a teacher who understands the importance of child development and aspects of pedagogy, as well as having a detailed knowledge of the child's interests and learning styles, and also uses a wide range of resources and techniques. Less summative assessment. As discussed earlier, I find that my ideology is less knowledge-based in regard to the key aspects of an educational ideology outlined by Bartlett and Burton. Knowledge-based ideologies contrast with my own, as they emphasise that the product of education is most important, and there is increased respect for high-status knowledge rather than individual development. This therefore contrasts with ideologies around the individual, which encourages more formative ways of assessment such as feedback over summative assessment. I strongly believe that there is too much focus on exams and summative assessments within schools, as well as the increasing pressure to succeed and competition between students. Thus, in my personal ideology, I feel that education should focus less on summative assessment. Formative assessment is defined by Aubrey and Riley as a means by which student learning is monitored, providing ongoing feedback which can be used constructively by both students and teachers. On the other hand, Black and William, in their research, concluded that summative assessment forms no useful purpose in promoting learning, or in informing teachers of how they might move learning forward. I therefore believe that exams are an unfair way of testing and measuring achievement, as each child learns differently, at different paces and with different needs. Intrinsic motivation is key to learning, and in my opinion, exams or summative assessments can diminish this sense of joy for learning, and it is crucial that children make a positive association with education, so that they can self-motivate and be curious to learn new things, not just because they have to for an exam, but because they are interested in it and are excited to learn, as supported by Claxton and Montessori. Formative assessments such as feedback are therefore a better alternative to summative assessment, as they don't contribute towards the overall grade of the subject, but instead inform the teacher and student on their strengths and weaknesses and take into account the needs of the child. In summary, many theorists and approaches have influenced my personal ideology, including the Romanticism approach to education, as theorist Pestalozzi, a Romanticist theorist, stated that education is about developing the whole person, head, heart and hands. I therefore believe that the purpose and aims of education should surround the child's overall happiness and well-being in order for effective, purposeful and progressive learning to take place. My ideology is therefore shaped around 4 key factors, including child-centred learning, more creativity in schools, understanding and supporting the role of the teacher, as well as focusing less on summative assessment. These key parts of my ideology take into account aspects from both individual ideologies and society ideologies. And I believe it is important to have a balance of both these aspects outlined by Bartlett and Burton. Education should thus aim to meet the personal needs of each child in order to enhance achievement, individual development, and to ensure that every child achieves their potential. Thank you.